Okay, here we go. Sorry for all the delays for those of you that are here live, and welcome to those of you that are watching the video recording of this. I am Ms. Weimer and the College and Career Advisor, and so I'm here to talk to you about basically college and career planning and just kind of where you're at so far. You are almost done with your third semester. So you're basically nearing the halfway point for your time with Blue Water Middle College. So this session, we just kind of check in, make sure you know where you stand as of right now, and then starting to clarify plans for the future if you can do that. And I know some people have had a very clear plan from the start, so just making sure that you're still following your plan. Some of these pictures and things are still left over from our old director, Mr. Spencer, leaving them all in there. So today, talking about just successfully completing this semester and this year, and then planning for the future, the near future being that you're completing your high school graduation requirements this year. The next future is making sure you're on track for your SC4 degree and getting ready to be able to take math and English, since we've kind of told you to hold off on that in the past. It's time now to start getting ready for that. And then figuring out the further future of what you want to do after SC4 and after Blue Water Middle College is over. And then kind of just a quick refresher on getting ready for winter registration and updating your educational development plan, which is just that Google form that you did last year. It's pretty much the same, but you just have to update that each year. For those of you that are not here at one of the live sessions, either tonight on the Zoom or Friday in person, that would be your homework, and everyone does have to do that. So it's everyone's homework, whether you're here or whether you're not. So important dates, early alert grades were already posted on September 30th. As always, that's just a progress report that's posted after the 6th week of the semester is over. It's not your final grade, but we don't see another grade. We have no access to anything until the final grade is posted. So that's why it's important to make sure that you know what your early alert grade is. If it was not great, basically if it was a C- or lower, then someone from the Blue Water Middle College has already reached out to you and your parents. If you didn't hear anything, probably that means it went great. And I'll point out how to check those just as a refresher when we look at some stuff in the service center in a little bit. But that was now over 3 weeks ago. So hopefully you're still making good progress. Basically, if things were bad at that point, it's past time to start picking it up and figuring it out, but we are here to help with that no matter where you stand. So I know I've met with a couple students recently that had a good early alert grade, and then things kind of crashed from there. So wherever you're at in that spectrum, please let us know if you need help. And then winter course sections and times are viewable now. It's actually the earliest that they've opened it up in a few years that I can recall. So that's a super good thing that we will talk quite a bit about, and I'll show you how to do that as a refresher. And all of this leading up to registration for winter semester opens on Monday, November 4th, but technically that Sunday night at midnight for any of you that are the night owls that stay up or wake yourself up in the middle of the night. And we'll talk more about that as well. This is pretty much the only time we'll have your undivided attention this semester. This is the only success session you have. So just some reminders, and then this is actually approaching really quickly. I feel like every semester goes faster for me. I don't know about how you all feel. Probably not as fast since you're in the trudgery of doing the work and taking the test and all that. But finals week is December 9th through 13th. And then grades will be posted that following Monday, and textbooks are also due that following Monday, the 16th. I would really recommend don't wait until the last day to turn those in. Turn your books in when you're here on campus for your last exam, or your only exam, or if you even have your, like some instructors, you might be lucky that you have all your final exams the week before finals. I know there's some instructors that do that. So whenever you're last going to have to be on campus, bring them in then, and you can turn them in earlier than that finals week. I think they're usually open to take books the week before finals. Obviously, don't return a book that you're still going to need, to prepare and study for. So that's why I think hopefully I've sold you all on the idea that taking your exam, dropping your books off, and then being done for a break is just a good feeling. And doing it all at once, you feel a big relief when you leave campus. We have extended it to the Monday after the semester ends because I know there's some online classes where they might let you turn stuff in, but the final day of the semester is that Friday, December 13th. So that's important to make sure you're not going to miss anything. So if you are in an online class, you really need to make sure that you know your final dates that everything is due. But typically things are going to be due, weekly. Your stuff is due on Sunday, but for the most part, the instructors will cut that a little short and it's due that final day of the semester. So keep an eye on your email as you always should be, but we'll be sending a lot of reminders and updates as we get closer to the end of the semester. And then just remember that there are late fees if you don't return your books on time. While you're now in 12th grade, those of you that are attending one of the partner high schools are probably in a flurry of visits from the college advisor there, and they're coming into your classes and they're talking about college applications and doing the FAFSA, preparing letters of recommendation and resume and all that stuff. And I know that it's easy to get caught up in the flurry of that. Sometimes people get into that and are like, man, I really don't want to stay for this 13th year. Can I start doing college applications? If I apply now, do I have to leave? And you do not. If you want to do that stuff, you can. It is time consuming though. So unless you're pretty sure you're going to get a really, really good scholarship, like a full ride, 100% scholarship, financially, it's never really the best idea to leave early, to graduate early at the end of 12th grade. It is an option though. We've had students do it. And pretty much the only time I think it's a good idea is if you are getting full scholarship, like tuition, fees, housing, books, food, all of that paid for. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot cheaper to do that 13th year here at SC4 with us. And if you are unclear or unsure, just let me know. I'd be happy to kind of help you figure out what you can take, because you may be coming to the end of some requirements for your associate degrees and looking like, well, all I have left is electives. I might as well just transfer. But usually there's a whole list of things that you can take that would transfer to the four-year school above and beyond what it takes to just complete your associate degree here at SC4. So reach out. If you do start to pursue this and you're going to do these applications, even if it's just kind of for the fun of it or to see what would happen, remember that your high school is Blue Water Middle College. Your high school is not Port Huron Northern. It's not KPAC. It's not Elginak. You are basically guest students at that high school. I hope they're not making you feel that way, and I don't think most do. But every year we have some students not remember that and fill out an application as if they're a Port Huron Northern student. But you are a Blue Water Middle College student, and you would be applying as a freshman, which is to your benefit. That means that you are still eligible for freshman scholarships, which is just a bigger pool of money that colleges have on hand to give you scholarship money for. So both of those are a little bit against what you would think. Like you would think I'm a KPAC student. I've always gone there, but you're not. You are a Blue Water Middle College student. And then it seems like, well, why would I not be a transfer? I'm going to have all this college credit. And it is true, you're going to transfer a ton of college credit. During the application and admission process, though, colleges in Michigan will treat you and want you to apply as a freshman. Again, just because it makes you eligible for more scholarship money. If you are even slightly thinking about doing this, please reach out to me, shoot me an email and just say, hey, I'm in 12th grade. I'm thinking that I'm going to start applying, or I've already done some applications. I'm really looking at going to Michigan State and majoring in psychology. Let me know those things and we can kind of start staying in touch with you, and you can come to the some of the sessions for the 13th year with the idea that you may be leaving early. But again, I really recommend talking it through and seeing, is that a good idea before you make that decision? And you don't necessarily have to make that final decision till the end of the year. On the topic of college, we're going to have an admissions counselor for Michigan State. They're going to be in the classroom this Friday before the in-person success session. So likely you are here right now because you can't be at the in-person, but that is an option that will be available. It's basically just a person from MSU that can talk about all kinds of stuff. They can answer questions you might have about housing or parking, or I've always heard, if I'm transferring as a freshman, do I have to live in the freshman dorms? Will I be allowed to bring my car to campus? Those are usually the big questions I always get, and they'd be able to answer that for you. They can also look at your record and say, you might want to boost it up for another year before you apply. Or they might say like, yeah, it looks awesome. Keep up this level of work and you're in really good shape. So the BWNC classroom is the one where we have the in-person meetings. That's in room 205, just down from our office, which is on the second floor of the Welcome Center. So stop by if you have any questions. Again, that's this Friday from 1 o'clock to 1:45. Then you can stay and do the in-person success session all over again. Just kidding. You don't need to see this twice. Another thing that we're doing is getting some campus tours set up. It has been a bit of a challenge. I haven't gotten as many going. Basically, things are super booked, and I think there's colleges are still trying to catch up from COVID. They shut down big group tours during those years, and last year was kind of the first year that a lot of them reopened that opportunity. So we have one confirmed to go to Oakland. I'm just waiting to confirm like buses and stuff like that. So that is the Monday of Thanksgiving week. You'd be excused from your home high school as school business, and we would send that to your counselor. And then though, if you had a college class that day, that would count as a regular absence. So we can't excuse you from your college class, but if you've been doing a good job and getting to class, one absence for something like that is probably not going to be the end of the world. And hopefully that would be helped by it being Thanksgiving week. But if you are interested in that and you have a Monday class, you might want to just next Monday talk to your instructor and say, hey, there's this opportunity that I'm interested in. Do you know what we're going to be doing on Monday, November 25th? Would it be a terrible thing if I missed that day? And they might say, oh, we have a test. You probably shouldn't miss that day. And you shouldn't if you have a test. But if it's just a regular class, they might say, yeah, absolutely. So we would take a bus from SC4 to Oakland. We all ride together. We get there, we get a presentation from the admissions office. They give us a tour of campus. Usually it's a current student that gives that tour. Excuse me, sorry. Oh no, here we go. So sorry. A tour of campus. And then we finish up with lunch in a dining hall, which is usually a buffet, and you can kind of see what it's like to eat on a college campus and experience that whole freshman 10 or whatever they say. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. We would most likely leave SC4 around 7:30 and we'd be back mid-afternoon, like 2:30. But as soon as I have more information, I'll send that out. And there would be a link that we would have you RSVP at and say, yes, I want to come. And then we'd have to have you get a permission slip signed from your parents and bring that in. So more information to follow, hopefully pretty soon. Okay, so I'm going to pause just for a quick second. I'm so sorry. Okay, I think I have gathered myself, but time will tell, I guess. So for this current semester, it is time to lean in if you haven't already. About half of students earn their degree on time. On time, we consider to be basically by the end of your 13th year. And then another small percentage earn it within a year after that. Maybe you were only missing like a class or two. Sometimes people finish that with a summer class, or sometimes they stay at SC4 for a semester. A percentage of students never intended to finish their degree. They were just taking things that would transfer. I've really only come across one situation where that makes sense, where a student was going for a film degree, and she ran out of things to take at SC4 that would transfer to the 4-year school. But that's pretty rare. Most of the time, the things that would transfer for the degree you want to do, there's enough flexibility in some of the degrees at SC4 where maybe it takes a class or two that you might add in order to get your associate degree, but in my opinion, it's always really worth it. But again, that leaves about a third of our students who don't earn a degree. So again, some change their program or only focus on the bachelor's degree. But most of the people that don't earn a degree is because they end up failing or withdrawing from classes. And most of the time when we dig in, there's not really a good reason for it other than that maybe they got a little behind and then things snowballed. And then instead of like digging in, asking for help, coming to us for help, they just kind of put their head in the sand and didn't deal with it. And I say this as a person who has done that myself. So I totally understand, but I really, really want you guys to understand we're here to help with that. So, worst you can do, or worst case, is that you can ask and the professor can say no for anything that you haven't done, or if you're behind, or if you're just struggling altogether. But almost every time when students communicate well with their instructor, they're giving some leeway on things. Basically 80% of the students who do earn their degree on time withdrew from 0 classes. So that means that another 20%, like even if you've withdrawn from one or failed one, there's usually enough wiggle room even for that. But oftentimes when people withdraw, they are more likely to keep doing it because it's kind of a negative connotation, or can't think of the word, but basically negative consequence is that you withdraw, find out that it was really easy, and then it seems like something like, oh, well, I have a C minus, I'm just going to withdraw. Instead of kind of pushing through and trying to get your grades up, or just pushing through and taking that D minus. Sometimes that's the way to go, just to like get it done and get that credit. So moral of the story, don't withdraw, earn your degree. You can pass. People are passing, people are getting C's or better, a good portion. A D minus is still passing though. Oftentimes I have people reach out about withdrawing and they have a D, and I'm like, there's still 6 weeks left. I know we're talking about that the semester is going fast, but there's still basically a third of the semester left. So there is time to bring it up. And a lot of the things you do at the end of the semester sometimes are worth more points. So you may have a good opportunity still to make a positive impact on your grade. So if you're worried about that, as long as you are passing, I would definitely say keep pushing and try to finish it out. But again, even a D minus, you get the credits. Sometimes most of the time it will still count as a prerequisite if you needed it to take the next thing. Some classes are not that way. Like I think Bio 271, you have to have a C or better in order to take the next thing. Bio 272, those are anatomy and physiology, but it's pretty rare that those are the case. So you can finish on time. Most people are still on track at this point. If you start thinking about withdrawing, contact one of us immediately. I think we've said this probably every time we've had these meetings, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, but you can't drop without permission. There is a form that we would have you complete and kind of walk you through. You would just talk us through what's going on, and we would give you some ideas. The main thing that I would always suggest is have you talked to your instructor? Have you asked for help? Have you gone to tutoring? And are you doing the work? Like, are you trying, basically? So those are the things that we're going to want to see before we would allow you to withdraw. Every year we have somebody say, well, I haven't been there in a month, and think that that's okay. So that's not okay. Don't just quit. Don't give up, and think that we're going to just approve it for sure. We are only approving those if we see that you have been trying, and you're going to need to show us that you have. So reach out now so that you do have time to do the things that are possible before the withdraw deadline. But that's not until I think it's Friday, November 22nd. Well, I'll include that in the email follow-up. But it is time to get help. So get help if you need it. Talk to your instructor. Take advantage of tutoring. All the stuff is there for you. And basically start with one of us and we can help you get on track. Okay, so the next future is high school commencement. Will you walk this spring? Are you on track? Do you have all your high school requirements done or in progress? Mrs. Barr does a review every summer for everyone that's between their 11th and 12th grade year, and does a review of your progress and sent you a letter that said basically what you have left to complete for your high school requirements. If you needed an SC4 course, or if you still have a high school graduation requirement that you haven't come up with a plan for, you would need to take that with an SC4 course for this winter semester. Some people may have already been planning on it. If you don't know check with Mrs. Barr if you're not sure where you stand. And she can probably resend you that letter that she sent. There's not many people that are in this boat, but a lot of, times you may have not have had a lot of room for high school requirements. If you were doing tech, then you definitely had to do all of your high school requirements with SC4 classes. If you were in band or another, like choir or theater or things like that, where you had to kind of set hours aside at the high school to do that, then maybe you still have where you need to take one or more classes to complete your requirement, or if you failed things. But hopefully you're already aware of that. If you're not, though, check with Mrs. Barr. Even though you will finish pretty much all of your requirements this year, there will be one final requirement that you'll have next year. So if you remember that list of the requirements, you have to take 4 English, 4 math, 3 social studies, blah, blah, blah. So you still have to finish your 4 math credits this year in order to be able to march in graduation at your home high school. But there's also an extra little bit of the requirement in the law from the state is that all students must have a math-related experience in their final year of high school. So for any Blue Water Middle College student or any middle college student across the state, any student that has a grade 13, that is your final year. So your counselors probably talked about it last spring when you were scheduling for right now, and they refer to it as senior math, because if you had never left your home high school, senior math is your final year, right? But for you that are Blue Water Middle College students, if you are going to be here next year, that's your final year. It can be your math class for your degree, or it can be any class that includes a lot of math. We have a whole list of classes that count for that. If you have already completed your math requirement for your degree, reach out to either me or Mrs. Barr, and we can let you know what can count for that. Oftentimes there's a bunch of science classes that count for that, and that's usually kind of what people do if they have finished their math requirement. But if you haven't done it, I would just say, don't take your math for your degree next semester, hold that for fall semester of your 13th year, and then you're just getting it all done at once. If you're going into a career where you're going to need a ton of math, just keep rolling. Like if I'm taking math, pre-calculus in the winter and I'm going to need calculus 1 next year, that's totally fine. You're going to keep going, and you just are going to need something math related next year, your 13th year. Also planning for your degree, just a little refresher, is making sure that you're pursuing the right degree. So I'll show you basically that you can access that. You can see which degree you're doing in the service center. I see some questions, and I think I'll basically address those at the end. I'm sure Mrs. Barr is answering in the chat. So making sure you know what your degree is and what the requirements are for that degree. You should be about 20 credits, 6 classes into the progress at this point. And we've kind of told you what we told you last spring when you were planning for this year, to shoot to have 30 credits complete at the end of this year by the end of 12th grade. But if you have at least 26 credits done by the end of this year, you can still finish on time in 13th year. We can pay for up to 17 credits each semester in your 13th year. So 60 minus 34 is 26. So you have about 40 more credits, 12 classes to go between next semester, winter semester, and your 2 semesters next year. So I'll be sending these templates, and I'll point them out too. But we have all the tools. We are here to help, but it's time to just kind of do a review of where you stand. And if you recall, you've done this already, that you have, 11th grade all filled in, what you've done. Hopefully you had maybe like 9 or 10 credits here by the end of 11th grade. You're doing another 9 to 12 probably. And so you need to plan your winter semester to make you get to ideally at least 30 credits, but at the least 26. But basically it's time to kind of start plotting out the rest of what you have to do, with the goal of getting to your 60 credits or 63 or whatever your degree requires. I am going to pop over to where we have a bunch of resources. I think I touch on this later, but we've got all this stuff at on our page, bluewatermiddlecollege.org, under students. We've got under planning and scheduling all those worksheets. and I'll be attaching them to this as well. We have the videos that Mrs. Barr made, I think a few years ago, that kind of talk about how to really plan out depending on what degree you're going through. So if you're doing the arts, you can watch that. If you're doing an applied degree like criminal justice or graphic design or something like that, you can watch that. Science is down here. Michigan Transfer Agreement is here. The degree worksheets over on your right, and that template for the program of study that we just looked at is here. And I will actually attach kind of a cleaner version of that too. But all the stuff is there. I'll refer back to this in just a second. The other thing to look at is that when you came in and applied to SC4, you chose a program of study, and that was you started in the fall of 2023. So you are under, like your degree is listed in SC4 under the program or catalog year of 2023, most likely, unless you have changed it since. And let me see if I can find an example of somebody. Who would not care if I used their name? So if you were just logged in on your service center, it would look something like this. And when you go to that view my progress bar, if you recall that tool, it would show what degree you're listed under, and the catalog year is listed there, 2023. So that's where you would find that out. But yeah, you can check that in your own service center, see what degree you're listed for in the catalog year. I point that out because a few degrees have changed. The arts and sciences, not so much, but there's some of the applied degrees have changed a little bit. One of them being mechatronics. So with the 2024 catalog, some of these changed to, this previously required 63 credits and now it's 60. So I would really recommend, no matter what degree you're pursuing, go to the 2024 catalog and just see if maybe they're requiring less, because that's a nice thing that maybe you could take one fewer class. But yeah, that's something to check and make sure that you know what your degree requires. So that's actually a good example. So you would want to print one of these out and kind of check off what you have done so far, right? And see what you have left. And then you're going to put it in that sheet like here, where you're going to plot out what you have left to do over these next 3 semesters, right? So if you need help with that, let me know. But I think most of you kind of did that already last year in seminar and hopefully to plan for this year. But again, we're here to help with that. I think that's it there. Basically, English and math placement now becomes important. You've taken the SAT, so how you did on that could be used for placement depending on how it went. You can check that in the service center as well. I'll show you that. While I'm here, we'll look at grades too. So when you log into the service center, this is your home. It's going to look slightly different for you. There's a few tabs here that you won't have. When you go to grades, that is how you check your early alert grades. Obviously, this is my record, so you will not have winter 1998 here, but you will have fall of 2024. You click on it and it pops up the classes you're taking, and under midterms is what your early alert grade would be. So you can go there and check all of your grades through the years. You can also, under academics, go to unofficial transcript, and you can see now that you're 3 semesters in, or you're pretty close to done with that, you can see what your transcript would look like. So this is my full transcript. I did not plan to get my associate degree. I was only here at SC4 for a year, but it lists every class, the grade, and it tells you like your GPA by the semester, your overall GPA, how many credits you have done. So that's a good tool to go in and fill out this thing, right? So if you don't remember what classes you took, that's a good way to go back and get that and make sure that the number of credits that you total up here matches the number of credits that you have done as of this semester. That's there. Another thing while we're in here is that you can check your test summary. So if you took the SAT and had those and included SC4 as a place for those scores to be sent, that would be listed under admissions test. I don't have it here. This is probably what it would look like if you didn't include SC4. But if you go to your College Board account, you can see your test results, and you can download a score report and send that to either Mrs. Barr or I. You can see if you've taken the placement test. This is different, but like it's the AccuPlacer now, not College Board, but that's where your test scores would be listed there. So if you have any questions about your placement for English and math, you can also just email either me or Mrs. Barr, and we can look that up and let you know. But you can download your SAT scores and send them to us, and then we can pass it on to SC4 if those work for placement for you. But basically you need to place into something, some level for your English and math, and that's what you have to either take the AccuPlacer at the testing center, and I will send information on how to prepare. The SC4 testing center has recommended that you use Khan Academy to prepare for the math test, and I can send you a bunch of information about that. If your SAT scores will do it for you, you would just send those to us and we can have them sent to SC4. They'll be loaded in, so they'll just be there. And so you'll be ready to register when it comes time. You could retake the SAT or AccuPlacer if you already have taken it. You can ask the instructor for permission to override the prerequisites, but they very, very rarely will do that. Last resort would be just to take the class that you place into. So like if you placed into let's say math 1130, but you know that you want to take calculus, you may just have to take 1130 pre-calculus first. So if you have questions about your placement, talk to one of us and we can help you figure that out. The math course changes all kind of happened before you came to SC4, but some people may have taken some classes through dual enrollment, so we're still kind of going through it this way. But mainly just to point out that if your degree says that you need math 110 or something like that, their numbers are different. And I'll send this to you, but basically probably all of your degrees list the new math anyway, so I don't think that's super relevant, but this little chart kind of shows what's what. So I'll send you all this stuff, but here, this is helpful, just the placement to get to. So if you know, I'm in the arts degree, I don't want to take foundations of math. Eventually, I know that I need statistics for my degree. This is where I want to get to. Then you can work backwards and figure out, okay, these are classes that you can take as a prerequisite that are a little bit lower placement from the AccuPlacer or for the SAT. You can take one of these, and then you can take statistics next. And same with if you wanted to take pre-calculus. So that's kind of, I'll include this little chart to show you the pathway of what you would need to do depending on what math class you want to get to finish your degree required math. There are a number of classes that are courses with support. Math 1101 is the same thing as 1100, which is Foundations of Math. This one only counts towards the Associate of Arts and maybe a handful of applied degrees. This would not complete the math for the science degree. But there is a Foundations of Math with support. There's also Intermediate Algebra, which is like the equivalent of Algebra 2. That would be a prerequisite for you to take before taking statistics. Or yeah, basically just statistics. It would be the only thing you could place into with that. Math 1121 is Introduction to Statistics with support. All three of these are 4-credit classes. That's how it will show up on your transcript, that you're earning 4 credits, but it's 6 contact hours. So that means that you would be in class 6 hours per week. Basically, they have the new material, like the statistics are about 4 hours a week, and then the support time is about 2 hours a week. So it is built in, and sometimes it doesn't even feel separate. It's just all kind of embedded. They're just with you longer each week so that they can help you with old skills that maybe you never understood the first time you got it, or you're just worried about it, or math just isn't your thing. If you need a little bit of help, these with support classes are awesome. They do transfer the same as their matching class. So like 1121 Intro to Statistics with support transfers just like 1120 Intro to Statistics. So if math isn't your thing, you're worried about it, you want or need extra help, these are great options. The lab time is just built right into the weekly schedule. The instructor is who gives you that support. So it's basically kind of like built-in tutoring where you don't have to plan a time to go ask for it, or you don't have to depend on finding a good tutor. You're getting extra help and support directly from your instructor, and they'll teach you the skills that you would have needed from before in order to get through the new content. So you might be learning some algebra skills in order to do the current statistics things that you're learning. The only downside really of these is just the additional class time per week, but it's basically just fitting 2 more hours a week into your schedule. And so that's 2 hours you don't have to worry about getting tutoring. It's basically like just building the tutoring right into your schedule. So I know it's a downside and it's hard to schedule, but the benefits I think outweigh it if math is something that you're worried about. Blue Water Middle College, and me specifically as a former math teacher, continues to recommend that you take your math classes in person, especially if you're doing one of the with support or if math is not your strength. I can't tell you how many students, I would say most of the students that end up failing or withdrawing math is because they're in an online class. And it's just really hard to learn math online. It's hard to teach math online. And oftentimes we've had instructors, when a student goes to them, say, well, why are you taking it online if you don't understand math? Which I don't think is super helpful, but also I kind of get where they're coming from. So sorry about this choking up situation. I thought I was past it. So I really, really recommend take your math in person, take English in person, especially if it's not your strength or if it's something that you're worried about getting through. There's also an English course that's similar, that's basically English composition with basic writing skills. It's like English 101 with support. It is English 100. It is a 3-credit class for your transcript, but it's also 6 contact hours. So again, you're there 6 hours a week. It transfers just the same as English 101. It completes that requirement for the MTA and for the arts and science degrees. As well as if English 101, well, English 101 is required for pretty much every degree, so English 100 would also complete that. So you would take English 100 or 101, you wouldn't take both, and then you would take 102. So it's not like you would do 100, then 101, then 102. You would do 100 and then 102, or 101 and then 102. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about any of this, just email me. My email is getting very flooded as we approach registration, and also preparing for these and preparing for seminar for our 11th graders. So I am very behind on emails, but I will get caught up. I will get back to you in time for registration. It just might not be the 24-hour turnaround that I usually shoot for. So shoot me an email and I will answer as soon as I can. And that goes for math and English questions or just any questions you have about registration. Speaking of registration, all middle college students really should be meeting with a college SC4 advisor at least once a year. So if you have not, I would really recommend doing that, especially as we are now halfway through your time at SC4. It's a good idea, even if you have a pretty solid plan that maybe you and I made together or you made on your own, take that to the SC4 people, and your meeting might be 5-10 minutes where they're going to look and say, yep, this is perfect. It's exactly what I would have recommended. You're all good. This is where they are the ones that issue the degrees and are the transfer experts. I think I know a lot too, but I always think we need to double check our work, me and you, our work, and make sure that SC4 also agrees. You can also meet with us. We can help with any piece of what we've talked about today: high school graduation requirements, your SC4 degree, career and college research, and if you're struggling, any one of us can help with that. All of that to say, kind of the next step is clarifying some plans for the more distant future. This is another thing left over from Mr. Spencer that always cracks me up. the future being, I guess, what's Hunger Games or whatever, but robots and stuff. We're not there yet. Hopefully that's not going to happen before you go to college. But the more distant future has already happened for last spring's grads. This is an old thing that he's always had. But just to show you that people at this point, we're, I think, almost 15 years into the middle college. So people have gone pretty much to every college in Michigan and a large number of colleges outside of Michigan. I think we've had people go into every military branch. So we have some experience with that, but we've also seen our students come back and say, everything transferred, everything, I got 65 credits transferred and all for what I expected. So all this to say that if you planned well, that's hopefully where you're going to get. But these are the times where you're making those decisions and making those plans so that you get there successfully later on. Planning your course selection, kind of shooting for immediately, or kind of the first thing to shoot for is to make sure that you're completing the Michigan Transfer Agreement. If you are doing either the Associate of Arts or Associate of Science, the MTA is built into those degrees. So if you complete that, you will be completing the Michigan Transfer Agreement. But if you're doing a different degree, like say business transfer, and you know you want to go on to get a bachelor's degree in business, if you're going on for a bachelor's degree, you should be doing the Michigan Transfer Agreement. We can also look and see what would be taken for a college for a bachelor's degree. And so that would be where we can look up transfer guides. So the way I look up a transfer guide is Google. Oakland is what I'm going to use since we're going there for that visit. And also they have the best transfer guides. I would literally just Google the school and transfer guides. It's the very first thing that pops up. This is basically what I would recommend if you're starting to get through the requirements and trying to figure out like, okay, I have all this room for electives, but what am I going to do? So we're coming from St. Clair County Community College, and they list all of the transfer guides that they have here. They have a lot, which is awesome. Let's say you're thinking about going into business. So there's a few specific business majors that they have different guides for. If you're not doing one of those, you would click all other majors. And you can see everything that you can take that's going to transfer for that actual major for the business requirement. And there's a bunch here, right? The economics, the accounting, those are built into the business transfer degree. CIS and speech are in that transfer degree, business transfer degree, but not everything is, right? The math requirement for the business transfer degree is much lower than what Oakland would like you to show up having had completed. So these can be helpful because you can find, like if you were just following the business transfer degree, you might not take both of these. They want you to have both pre-calculus and statistics. I've come across some business programs that want you to have also Calc 1, which I think is excessive. Being a business major myself, I never use calculus in business, but some of them want you to have that. So that's where you can see that kind of thing. I can help you find that. You can email me and I can pull the stuff together. I would recommend reading through the whole thing. But that's a good place to start if you know where you want to go and what you want to major in. The other thing to be shooting for right now is making sure you're getting a C or better. Oftentimes I've had students say, well, my sister went to SC4 and nothing transferred. Basically, when that happens, what that person is saying is they didn't plan well. They didn't look at the classes that would transfer for what they wanted to do, or they weren't getting C's or better. Things transfer, even if it's a class that isn't going to be included for your bachelor's degree, it will transfer as general, like elective credit. So these are the main things: making sure you're planning well, getting grade C or better, and finishing classes, getting that credit. I think everybody's been somewhere on this continuum where we've told you last year in 11th grade, and as you were coming in, it's totally fine to really do this whole 3 years and not know what you want to go, not know what you want to do or where you want to go. But the more clear you can get, that used to be a little graphic where this guy moved over to crystal clear. I think I got rid of motion stuff. But that's the idea, is that if you can get yourself a little bit clearer on where you want to go, what you want to do, That's where you can really find out everything that you can take and start working on that stuff now. I've been meeting with a lot of 13th year students as they're applying for colleges right now. And they're now telling me, well, I want to major in pre-med and go to blah, blah, blah. And then we look up what can transfer, and there's a ton of stuff they could have been doing, but they were just kind of taking general things that, sure, they check off requirements for the Associate of Science, but they could have taken a whole bunch of chemistry that would have gotten them really far down the path for their bachelor's degree. So if you don't know yet, that's okay. But if you have even just a kind of idea, I would recommend reaching out to me and setting up a time and let's talk about it. Worst thing is you start taking some things that would be transferable for a bachelor's degree. If you change your mind later, oh well, but at least you had some idea of what you were doing for those. You do have a lot of choice in what you take. So let it be pointed towards a plan, basically. Basically, if you think you know, do more research, double check, meet with me, be sure you know what it is, what it takes. So that you don't kick yourself later a year from now saying like, dang, I had 2 other semesters where I could have been taking stuff that would have transferred. And I kind of always thought I wanted to major in psychology. I just never really talked to anybody about it. So whatever it is, I guarantee there's a number of things that you can take here that would transfer for that degree above and beyond what you're doing for the associate degree. So if you don't know, do that research. These pages I'll send to you. We kind of went through this back in seminar a year ago, but these are all great resources where you can like research the career, find out what kind of education you would need. I'm also going to send you this year's version of the hot jobs. I think this is a great option. See if I can zoom. I can never zoom in. I can never figure out where it is. It's somewhere. Here we go. The hot jobs are listed here. These are basically in demand, high demand, high wage careers. So things where you're going to earn decent money. You can see what kind of education is required. Here's one: apprenticeship, electrician can be making $23 to $38 an hour, and there's tons of openings. So if you're kind of like, yeah, this whole college thing, I'm over it, that could start looking and figuring out what can you do with just an apprenticeship or just an associate degree. And we can start working towards that. But most of these are going to require a bachelor's degree or higher. So you can kind of see the benefit to sticking with finishing your associate degree and going on to get a bachelor's degree. I also have this other page that's a bunch of resources for exploring careers, doing more of those like interest surveys and figuring out what you want to do, getting ideas, all kinds of career quizzes to give you ideas on what you might want to do. So I'll send that to everybody. If you already know what you want, just disregard it, but it's good resources if you're not sure. The other thing is that it's time to make sure that you're building your strong application, because a year from now, you will be applying to colleges where they are going to look at your high school GPA, which is your Blue Water Middle College high school GPA. So that is a combination of your high school and college classes. And they are going to look at your SAT score, kind of, mostly. This is a little chart for all the colleges in Michigan that show the average. And they're basically saying half of their applicants or half of the people that are accepted are in this range. Some people are below it, some people are above it, but this can give you an idea, and I'll send this in another document of where you stand. So sometimes people are talking about they want to go to U of M pre-med and they might have like a 2.5 GPA. It's not to say that you can't get there someday, but we might have to find another angle in, right? So if you are well below kind of these averages, it doesn't mean it's not possible, but we're going to have to talk about some other options, or figuring out sort of some safe ideas too. And if you're not at the 2.8, then that's all the more reason to really be pushing and working hard to get your GPA up as high as you can. And again, you can still impact that. Only one school, Northwood, is listed on here as requiring the SAT or an ACT. I know there's some that are starting to bring it back. So again, the SAT is important and is going to be looked at if you include it. It can help you if your average GPA is a little bit lower than what this school is requiring. The SAT can help offset that, or vice versa. So if you are like, I want to go to Grand Valley, but I only got a 1,000 on the SAT, but I have like a 3.8, probably you're in good shape for something like that, right? So you want to kind of look at those two scores if they both fit there. You only have 3 college classes on your SC4 transcript right now, so you have a lot more room to improve your SC4 GPA. And again, all of your college classes are listed on your high school GPA and transcript. So you do have a good amount of time to impact your GPA. But that's really just 2 more semesters, because it's this current, well, 3, this current fall semester, winter semester, and next fall, you're going to be doing, so it is 2 semesters, because you're going to be doing your applications before you even have fall grades. That can be kind of a backup plan, but this year is really important to where your GPA is going to be at the end of the year is what you're going to be submitting for college applications. You can improve it. Courses are getting harder. You're starting to take more rigorous, challenging classes. So you are probably going to need more help. If I haven't said it already, I know I've said it like 5 times, see a tutor. There's tons of opportunity. They have basically online tutors. Oh, I didn't save this site, so it might not pop up. There's online tutoring. You can schedule that. You can click here for the tutoring schedule, and it shows you basically all of the options of who's available and what they do. You can go to the library. You can just walk in there anytime. They're open basically, I think like 8 or I don't know, it's like 9 to 4:30 for the most part, but I think they have some evening stuff in there. The Writing Center has its own tutors. So I would really, really recommend accessing this and getting help if you need it. Start again with your instructor. We've said that several times. If your SAT score isn't great and you're looking at colleges and finding that, yeah, it doesn't quite match my GPA, I would like to improve it to improve my chances of getting into my dream school, I would really recommend retaking it. I'll be sending you this link. They're offered every couple of months. A good date to take one is this June, well, coming June 7th, 2025, right at the end of this school year before you forget everything that you just learned. The next best time would be next August. If you are going to do some studying over the summer with all that Khan Academy stuff that we talked about last year at this time. If you're not going to study though, and you like know thyself, if you're not going to do it, take it this June so that your year's material and knowledge and just your thinking skills are all still sharp from the end of the year. It costs $68 to take that. If cost is a issue for you, reach out to us and you may be eligible for a fee waiver. If you were ever eligible for like free or reduced lunch, or if there's been any change in your finance for the worse, then we can find a way basically to say that you're eligible for that. But you just have to reach out. I would say probably to me or to Mr. Ruiz if you're interested in that. Winter registration, you're taking 3 more classes. Make sure you're making progress on all those things. I've touched on all of this. Check on future programs so you can see what would transfer. The process for registration is the same. If you have any questions, I would refer to these other pages. So this was all the planning tools, but when it comes time to actually register, this page gives you a little refresher on a video, or just this is kind of a step-by-step. Even though we're talking about winter, this process is still the same. Oh no. Sorry, my presentation went way back here. Let's see. Well, I did that. All right, so the process is still the same. Always remember, when you can go in right now, all the sections are viewable. So you can go right now today and add your 3 courses to your plan, but please remember that is not official. That's like you put some stuff in your cart. You have not purchased that. You have not bought that. You don't have to pay for it, but I'm talking about making it official. So it's going to be on its way to you. You have to actually click the register button, and then check to make sure it went through. And you can't do that until registration opens on November 4th. But check and double check after you hit register. The courses will be listed right now as kind of a beigey yellow, and it'll say like planned. Once it's official, they should change to green, and it'll say registered, not yet started. So that's how you double check that. Again, check that video if you need a little refresher. You're still in 12th grade in high school, so don't schedule a class that starts before noon. If you are a lucky, close to campus, Port Huron High or Port Huron Northern student, you can take an 11:30. There just aren't very many 11:30 classes. Do not take that to say, oh, well, 11 is close enough. No, it's not. That doesn't leave enough room for you to get to campus safely. That's an agreement that we have between the principals and all the staff. So don't register for an 11 o'clock. We will drop it. Mrs. Barr will reach out and say, hey, I see you're scheduled for a class that doesn't work. So go ahead and change that. And if you don't answer and you don't change your class, eventually we will just drop it for you if you're not answering, you're not making that adjustment. You also cannot plan part of your weekly schedule to say, well, my 4th hour or my 3rd hour teacher said I can leave early every day. I can leave 15 minutes early every Tuesday, Thursday for that class. That's not an option. That's not part of your agreement. You can never make part of your plan to be that you have to leave early or get to college late. Things happen, things come up. Asking for an exception here and there is a different story, but that can't be part of your weekly plan that you're going to leave early from high school or arrive late to SC4. I already pointed all these out. I should have had the slide earlier in there, but all those tabs are there. I'll include all these links in the follow-up that I'll send, including the AccuPlacer resources. The EDP is that thing that you're going to do that's your homework, whether you're here or watching this video. That's making sure that your plan is still on track, right? So it should be pretty easy to update these as you're getting kind of closer to the end of high school and your associate degree, and as your plans are hopefully getting clearer. It is required by the state of Michigan for you to update this every year. So yes, every year I will send this link, and every year somebody will reply and say, I've already done this. Yes, you did. You did this last year. That's why it's familiar, but you have to do a new one every year. So you're going to do that. It is a Google Doc that I will send to you. And we also use this to help you plan. It's okay if you're not set in stone on everything, but just put kind of your best guesses and then start doing some research so that you can get your plan clearer. This is the link for that. I think I already had it up here. It always does that when I update from here. So I already had it open. So I'm going to just drop this link in the chat if you wanted to just open it up and be able to do it right now. It's going to look like a long, crazy link, but that's okay. So that should come up for you there. I will also include it in the follow-up email, or you can take a little picture right now of that tiny URL that you can type in and get to yourself. So that is due a little over 2 weeks from now, Friday, November 8th. Make sure that you do that. It would truly, you could be very thoughtful and deliberate about it, and I think it would take you 5 minutes. So I would really recommend just doing it right now before you forget about it. It's super easy. It's just walking you through your progress on your degree and then what your plan is. Oh, Lordy. Sorry, I accidentally clicked the link again. Okay, so it's going to ask you what careers and colleges you're considering. List everything that you're considering. If you know your plan, I want to major in psychology and go to Michigan State, it's okay to just have that one thing. But you're going to select your career pathway that's most relevant to your career plan. You can just kind of guess on that. Your career and life goals is one of the last questions. And that's where I just kind of want to know, what do you want your life to be like? Like, do you want to have a family and you want work-life balance? You want to just make enough money to be happy and survive? Or are you like, I want to have everything fancy. I want to live in a big city and live in a fancy house and have a fancy car. I want to make a ton of money. Like wherever you're at in that spectrum, just kind of give me a few sentences on that. And then mainly just for yourself, think about, do your life goals match your career goals, right? So if you're like, I want to be able to raise a family, and then you're choosing some like high stress, low work-life balance career, that might be something to think about. It's an abrupt end here. So have a wonderful end of the semester. We are in week 10 of 16, so we're really cruising through this semester, but there is still a lot of time to make a positive impact on your grades. So keep working hard. Don't forget registration opens Monday, November 4th, technically that Sunday night at midnight. I've come around to thinking, I don't think it's worth staying up until midnight or waking yourself up in the middle of the night. If you do good planning and have everything all set up and ready to go, when you wake up for school on Monday, November 4th, at whatever time you wake up, go in, hit register, and you're done, and you don't have to lose any sleep over it. EDP is due November 8th, finals week, December 9th through 13th, and textbooks are due the following Monday, December 16th. And I'm going to leave it here. If you want to take a picture of this to email or call any of us with questions or to set up a meeting. And otherwise, happy registration, happy planning, happy fall, and have a wonderful rest of your semester. And please let me know if you have questions. If you want to stick around, if you have a question I might be able to answer real quick, that's great. Otherwise, probably I would recommend just email me your question and I'll respond to it right away tomorrow. And yeah, but stick around if you want to just ask something real quick. Otherwise, you are free to go. Thank you so much for coming to this tonight.